Welcome, everyone, to Techaily.ai. Have you ever just stopped and thought about how much the lines are blurring, between our physical lives and the digital world? It's really not science fiction anymore. It's actually changing how we work, how we connect, even how we see things.
Exactly. And today we're going to try and unpack that. Look at how these immersive technologies are developing, like right now, what they actually mean for us, personally and as a society, and well, what kind of future they're building. It's this huge shift in how we interact, learn, maybe even how we define ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. We'll look at the hardware that's pushing things forward, the strategies the big tech companies are using, and then maybe get into some of the big societal changes that are already happening. So, yeah, let's jump in. Okay, so to really get a grip on this new space, let's talk hardware. That seems like the place to start. We hear this term spatial computing now, moving beyond just VR or AR. So let's compare maybe the two big names right now, Apple Vision Pro and the Meta Quest Pro. What really sets them apart?
That's a great question because, you know, Apple really pushes this spatial computing system angle for the Vision Pro. But fundamentally, they're both mixed reality headsets. They both want to blend digital stuff with your real world. But they go about it really differently. Different philosophies and, well, obviously very different prices.
Right, the price. That's not just a detail, is it? It kind of dictates who can even consider buying them. Apple Vision Pro, what is it? Starts at $3,500, goes up from there. And the MetaQuest Pro launched higher, but now it's, what, around $1,000?
Yeah, it's down to $999, and
Oh, yeah.
that price difference is huge. Think about companies wanting to buy these for teams. The Quest Pro suddenly looks really practical, really good value. You can actually scale that across a workforce. It definitely shows Meta's aiming for broader reach.
That makes sense. But Apple, they're trying to justify that price tag with some pretty serious specs, like the resolution 4K for each eye, something like 23 million pixels total. That sounds incredible. How's the Quest Pro compare visually?
The Quest Pro has 1832 by 1920 per eye, which, okay, it's decent resolution, but honestly, it's a bit outdated now. Meta's own Quest 3 actually has better resolution.
Okay.
So yeah, the Vision Pro just gives you a much, much sharper picture. You really notice it in that pass-through mode, seeing the real world. It makes the mixed reality feel, well, more real.
And under the hood, Apple's got that dual chip thing going on, R1 chip just for sensors, and the M2 chip supposedly makes it super responsive. What's powering the Quest Pro?
The Quest Pro runs on Qualcomm's Snapdragon XR2 Plus chip. And look, it's a capable chip designed for this kind of enterprise mixed reality stuff, but it's not the latest generation like the XR2 Gen 2 and the Quest 3. So again, you see Apple pushing that custom high-end performance angle for its vision of spatial computing.
Okay, and memory storage. Vision Pro gets 16 gigs of RAM, options up to a terabyte.
Quest Pro has 12 gigs of RAM and just the one option, 256 gigs of storage, fixed. So yeah, less flexibility. Again, points to Apple targeting those really demanding, maybe professional uses right from the start.
Comfort's got to be huge, right? Wearing these things. Apple's is custom fitted. You scan your face. Keeps it lighter, about a pound, but makes it hard to just pass around, I guess.
Exactly. The Quest Pro is more traditional, one size fits most, adjustable strap, a dial for screen distance. And Apple has that eyesight feature. Shows your eyes on the outside. It's supposed to help you connect with people around you, but, well, it's led to some funny memes online. Let's put it that way. Quest Pro doesn't have anything like that.
And the battery design difference, Vision Pro is external. Reduces weight on the head, but means you have a wire, right?
Yeah, a wire running to a battery pack you put in your pocket or something.
Yeah.
The Quest Pro keeps its battery inside the headset itself, totally self-contained. Now, how you actually get into the mixed reality is different too. Apple Vision Pro, you put it on and it's mixed reality by default, digital stuff layered on your world. Then there's that crown dial to adjust how immersed you are.
Okay, so it starts blended. The Quest Pro, though, is more VR first.
Very much so. Usually you start fully virtual and you have to actively turn on the color pass-through to see your room. It's a toggle.
Right. And how do you interact? Apple's big on the hand and eye tracking, right? Lots of sensors, cameras.
Yeah, it's incredibly advanced. You just look at something, tap your fingers together, and that's like a click.
Oh.
No controllers needed for the basic stuff.
That sounds, yeah, really intuitive. Controller free. Quest Pro has tracking too, but relies more on controllers.
It does have hand and eye tracking, yeah. Good for things like foveated rendering, where it focuses processing power just where you're looking, saves battery, boosts performance. But yeah, for the best, most precise interactions, you really use the Touch Pro controllers. They have great haptic feedback, that True Touch stuff.
Okay, and audio.
Apple's built-in speakers are apparently really good. Dolby Atmos support, AAC, beamforming mics for clear calls. They paid attention to the sound.
Yeah, I've heard the Quest Pro speakers can be a bit meh. They face downwards.
Yeah, sometimes the sound doesn't quite hit your ears right, doesn't
Okay.
feel as spatially immersive.
So, wrapping up the comparison, it sounds like the Vision Pro is aiming higher.
Generally, yeah, I mean, the consensus is pretty clear, right? The Vision Pro kind of comes out ahead in, well, almost everything: display, processing, the whole mixed reality field, the interaction. It's Apple planting a flag at the very high end of spatial computing. The Quest Pro's wins are really the price, much more accessible, slightly better battery life, maybe 2.5 hours versus 2 for the Vision Pro. And for now, at least, it has a bigger library of apps already available through Meta's store. It's fidelity versus accessibility, really.
Okay, so that's the hardware battleground. Now let's talk strategy. Big picture stuff. There was buzz from MetaConnect 2025 suggesting Meta's shifting focus a bit. Less pure VR content, maybe, more towards AI, smart glasses, augmented reality. What's that tell us about where Meta is heading?
It's a really interesting shift, yeah. I mean, they're definitely not abandoning VR or mixed reality. They're still investing in Horizon OS, tools for developers. They even launched the Quest 3S, a cheaper model to replace the Quest 2 alongside the 3 and the Pro. Keeps the entry point low. But yeah, the big strategic push seems to be AI, integrating AI everywhere.
AI is everywhere right now, isn't it? So what's Meta doing specifically with their LLaMA models?
They are investing heavily in AI. LLaMA, their family of large language models, is powering things like Meta AI. They've even released something called LLaMA Stack for building agentic systems of basically AI that can make decisions and act on its own. And what's really interesting is Meta's making a lot of the LLaMA code open source, trying to spread the technology around.
Open source AI. That sounds potentially amazing for innovation, but also risky, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a double-edged sword, great for sharing knowledge, speeding things up, but when powerful AI code is freely available, potentially even on platforms known for spreading, well, misinformation, it raises huge questions: responsibility, potential misuse. It's complicated.
And Apple jumping in with the Vision Pro must have shaken things up for Meta, too. Apple calling it spatial computing.
For sure. Apple set a really high bar with the Vision Pro's seamless integration to natural hand, eye, voice controls. Things like their widgets, digital info overlaid in your room, and those super realistic personas for video calls. They're impressive. It's definitely pushed Meta to maybe speed up their own work on similar concepts like augments and their future codec avatars, especially since Quest headsets generally have less advanced eye tracking needed for truly realistic faces.
Okay, we've done hardware strategy. Let's zoom out a bit. The word metaverse,
Yeah.
it's thrown around so much. Sometimes it feels like nobody knows what it actually means. What are we really talking about?
It's true, it got very hyped.
Eh.
But if you look at what tech leaders say, Mark Zuckerberg sees it as the next chapter of the internet, focusing on social presence, feeling like you're there with people.
Right. NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang, he talks about photorealistic worlds, physics, AI beings living alongside human avatars. That's a much grander vision.
It is. And then you have Tim Sweeney from Epic Games warning about control, saying one company running it would be too powerful. So you get these different angles: social connection, realistic simulation, and also warnings about centralized power.
So, beyond the hype, are there some core ideas? What makes a virtual world a metaverse or part of one?
Yeah, researchers like Matthew Ball and Edward Castronova point to 3 key things: interactivity, physicality, and persistence. Interactivity, you can actually do things, affect the world, and interact with others. Physicality, it feels like a place, first-person view, rules that sort of mimic reality, even if stylized. You can move around intuitively. And persistence, this is crucial. The world keeps going even when you log off. Changes stick around. It's not just a game level that resets. These things make it feel less like a temporary game and more like a real ongoing place.
Okay, that helps. And this distinction I've heard, metaverse with a capital M versus metaverses lowercase. That's important, right?
Very important. The metaverse, capital M, is that big dream. One single, connected, immersive virtual reality. Like the internet, but spatial.
Yeah.
Still mostly aspirational. Metaverses, lowercase mm, are what we have now. All the different virtual worlds, online games, VR apps, social platforms. Think of them like separate planets. Maybe someday they'll connect into the bigger metaverse solar system, but right now they're mostly distinct spaces.
A solar system of metaverses. I like that. Are there different types of these planets?
Oh yeah, you can group them by visual style. Some try to look super realistic. Others are blocky, like Minecraft, voxelized.
Yeah.
By interaction type, some are just about moving around. Others let you build, create, really mess with the environment. And by the tech they use. Do you need a VR headset? Do they use blockchain? like Decentraland or the Sandbox, often no VR needed, but they use blockchain for trading digital land items as NFTs using crypto. That creates whole economies.
Okay, so these worlds are getting really complex, which brings up a deeper question. Are we just making, like, two separate realities, or are they blending, or is it something totally new?
That touches on this idea of dual ontology. Think about owning virtual land. It's not physical, right?
Yeah.
But it has real value because a community agrees it does. It's kind of like how a dollar bill only has value because we all agree it does, or a contract. So these institutional things, ownership, agreements, they can exist and be just as real in these virtual spaces. It definitely blurs the lines.
And what about us, our sense of self? There's this idea of the cyborg.
Yeah, thinkers like Donna Haraway and Andy Clark talk about us being natural-born cyborgs. We're always using technology to extend our minds or abilities. Language itself is a tool. Glasses are tech. Smartphones. They change how we think, how we remember. It's a constant integration.
So we're always augmenting ourselves. And now with wearables,
Yeah.
fitness trackers, we get the quantified self.
Yeah, exactly. Measuring steps, heart rate, sleep, turning our bodies and actions into data. And when you combine that with immersive VR, where you feel physically present in a virtual body, well, the line between your physical self and your digital self gets even fuzzier.
But that means we're creating so much data about ourselves. Physical data, psychological data, which leads to this idea of contiguous identities, right? Where our data follows us around online.
Precisely. Contiguous identities, your data flowing between apps, between metaverses, like using your Facebook login everywhere. In VR, the data collection is potentially way more intense. Eye movements, physical reactions, emotional responses. It raises huge privacy questions. What are companies doing with all this intimate data about us?
Yeah, huge questions. And it's not just identity. Culture, experience, they're becoming things to buy and sell in the metaverse too, like art.
Totally. Digital art, NFTs, giving verifiable ownership, virtual museums. It's changing how art is created, sold, experienced. You can take a VR tour of the Louvre now, or attend a massive concert inside Fortnite with crazy digital effects you couldn't do in real life. It's a new way to experience culture and entertainment.
And virtual tourism, that sounds futuristic.
It's happening. Hotels offering VR tours of rooms. Companies creating these teleportation cabins to visit resorts. It could let you preview trips, help people who can't travel easily, maybe even reduce some environmental impact from flying everywhere. Plus, they're adding game elements, gamification, to make it more engaging, especially for younger people.
Education too, I imagine. Seems like a perfect fit for immersive tech.
Definitely. People talk about Education 4.0 using AI, XR, even blockchain potentially for more personalized, hands-on learning. Minecraft education is already huge in schools. Imagine virtual university lectures where you can walk around the virtual campus or manipulate 3D models in science class.
Sounds amazing for engagement. But there must be downsides, challenges.
Oh, for sure. Can it be overwhelming? Cognitive load. What about accessibility for students with disabilities? And the cost. These headsets aren't cheap. It risks making the digital divide even wider, especially globally. If kids in some countries don't even have basic internet or literacy, talking about metaverse education is, well, it puts the cart way before the horse.
Right. Good point. Switching to business, how are companies adapting? Web 3.0, digital assets.
Yeah, business models are shifting. Web 3.0 ideas like using crypto and NFTs for digital ownership are taking hold. People are buying and selling virtual real estate in places like Decentraland. Digital fashion is a real market now. Big brands selling virtual clothes for avatars. You even have digital-only fashion houses like the Fabric and Studio, where users can create and trade their own digital clothing. Turns users into creators.
And virtual offices for remote work.
Yep. Meta uses its own workrooms platform, lots of companies experimenting with virtual collaboration spaces. And all this means the job market is changing too. You need digital literacy, obviously, but also computational thinking, adapting to AI, and those crucial soft skills for collaborating in these new environments.
Okay, so if these virtual worlds become really important places, who makes the rules? That sounds like a nightmare to figure out.
It is a massive governance challenge. I mean, these spaces cross borders, platforms have different owners. How do you create consistent rules? Rules in one metaverse might be totally different next door. It's complex.
What are the main ideas for how to govern them?
Generally, you see three models. Centralized, one company makes all the rules, like a game developer. Efficient, maybe, but risks dictatorships, abuse of power. Then decentralized power shared among users, maybe using blockchain DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, more democratic, but could be messy, chaotic even.
Is there a middle way?
People hope so. A hybrid model, some central control for stability, but with real ways for users to participate, have a say, like a democracy with some guardrails.
And when rules get broken, crime in the metaverse, how does jurisdiction even work?
That's a huge legal tangle. If someone steals your virtual property, but you're in different countries, whose laws apply? And then you have what some call fantasy crimes, things done in VR, like harassment or even simulated assault. Maybe no physical harm, but the psychological damage can be devastatingly real. There was a famous case back in '93, LLaMA, that really highlighted this.
That difference between virtual action and real harm is key, which leads to ethics. Privacy and security must be top of the list with all that data collection we talked about.
Absolutely paramount. We mentioned the data VR collects eye tracking, biometrics. It's incredibly detailed. Some researchers worry that real privacy might just be impossible in these environments. The potential for tracking and profiling is immense.
If it's impossible, what can we even do?
Well, transparency is step one. Companies need to be crystal clear about what data they collect and why. And users need control. Easy-to-use tools to manage their data, decide who sees what, privacy settings that actually work. The responsibility really lies with the platforms to build ethically.
And making sure these spaces are inclusive, accessible to everyone, avoiding bias.
Crucial, designing for accessibility from the start. For people with disabilities, making sure avatars and environments represent diverse people and cultures authentically. We need to actively fight against building new worlds that just replicate old biases.
But underlying all of this, that digital divide issue keeps coming back.
It really does. Because if you don't have the expensive headset, the fast internet, the basic digital skills, you're just locked out. These amazing immersive technologies risk creating even deeper divides between the haves and have-nots. Especially for poorer countries, it could mean being left further behind. It's a serious risk of digital exclusion.
Wow. Okay. We've covered a lot today. From the headset wars like Vision Pro versus Quest Pro to Meta's big pivot towards AI. We tried to define the metaverse, or metaverses, looked at how our identities, art, tourism, education are changing, and then tackled those really tough issues. Governance, crime, privacy, inclusion, that digital divide.
Yeah, it's clear that single metaverse vision is kind of fading.
Yeah.
It's more like that solar system idea. Lots of different metaverses evolving. They're all shaped by the tech, sure, but also by the choices we make as developers, as users, as societies about how we want them to work.
So maybe the final thought for everyone listening is, as we get more tangled up in these virtual worlds, what parts of our real selves are most important to protect? And at the same time, what new ways to connect, to create? What possibilities should we be open to embracing? Definitely something to think about as this all keeps unfolding.